Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat with Dr. Foojan.
Introducing a powerful new update from the Foojan app. Now with flexible subscription plans to fit your journey monthly, quarterly, or yearly. Our new AI-driven onboarding customizes your path to feeling better, faster, and enjoy a refreshed experience with stunning 3D interactive videos. Update now. Empower your inner voice with Foojan. Download today.
Welcome to the Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Foojan Zeine, a psychotherapist, an author, and the creator of the Awareness Integration Theory. So thrilled to have you join me. Today, I'm actually speaking with Betsy Pepine. She's a best-selling author and a serial entrepreneur in real estate. Her brokerage, Pepine Realty, has been named as an Inc. 5,000 fast and growing private company in the USA multiple times and has earned spots on the top 50 Florida companies to watch and Florida Trend, the best companies to work for list. Additionally, the Wall Street Journal has consistently recognized Betsy's real estate team as one of the top producing real estate companies in the United States. So you ask, why would I have Betsy as a real estate broker on my show? Well, she has an amazing book. Betsy also owns a title company, a real estate school, and property management brokerage. She is endorsed by her mentor, real estate mogul, and the Shark Tank, Barbara Corcoran, and as well as leading media personalities as Dave Ramsey and Glenn Beck. So she's passionate about helping at-risk families with children, and Betsy founded Pepine Gives, a 501(c)(3) nonprofit foundation that helps families facing housing insecurities. Today, we are talking about her latest book, Breaking Boxes. And we talk about how we put ourselves in boxes and how the world puts us in boxes, our culture, our family, all the rules, guidelines, and the roles that we play. And what are the strengths and what are the consequences of staying? What are the process of coming out of these restrictions and boxes? And where is it that we feel kind of strangled and suffocated? And what are the process of knowing what's going on with you and shifting and moving along and creating this expansion for yourself as you move along? So I really enjoyed our conversation, and I'm positive that you will too. Now, be sure to subscribe to my podcast, YouTube channel, and connect with me through my website, foojanzeine.com, or any of my social media platforms, and share your thoughts with me. Now, go to Foojan app from your Apple Store or Google Play. Check out, these guided journalings that are based on AIT. We've received the numbers that people are actually getting about 70% improvement in any of their life areas that are using the Foojan app for. And we have Mira, which is an AI chatbot, which has been trained in the AIT, Awareness Integration, and she has the ability to answer your questions from that angle. So as you're going through your guided journaling, you can ask questions about your life, about that area of life, about your goals, and she'll answer you from the AIT model. I'm sure that you'll gain a lot of information that are very useful for your life. So remember, I love to hear from you, so connect with me. Now, without further ado, here's Betsy Pepine.
Listen up if you want to promote your personal growth and self-awareness. I found the Foojan app last month and I have been absolutely loving it. I personally have never learned guided meditation, but thanks to this app, I now have learned incredible tools for my own stress relief and emotional self-awareness. Not to mention, there are self-evaluation tools and professional coaching available to utilize however your journey to self-discovery takes you. Join Foojan today and redefine your life one step at a time.
Intentional Parenting, a practical guide to awareness integration theory, written by Dr. Jafari, Dr. Foojan Zeine, and Dr. Manoukian, 3 experts in human development,
is your step-by-step guide to raising a healthy child prepared for a culturally integrated world. You're supported in parenting infants to adolescents using the latest evidence-based scientific research on parenting. Order your copy on Amazon now.
Well, welcome to the show, Betsy Pepine. Nice to have you.
Oh, so happy to be here.
Well, you have written a book called Breaking the Boxes. Breaking Boxes. You have been a real estate broker for a long time. So you have dealt with homes, moving, transitions. And a lot of time people, I know when I was buying homes and offices and all of that, this is a very personal relationship. And as I was going through your book, I was looking at all the elements of the personal angles that we have, but you put metaphorically under the name of boxes. So before we get to that, I want to know what even enticed you to write a book.
You know, I was in my mid to late 40s, and I just felt myself increasingly discontent and was trying to understand why. And so I approached it with a variety of different modalities, including journaling, meditation, yoga, therapy, EMDR, bioenergetic work. You know, I was really open to understanding what was going on because I felt like throughout my life, I've checked off all these boxes that I felt would get me to perhaps success and thus happiness and contentment. And while I found success, I wasn't finding the happiness and contentment. And so in that journey, the common thread seemed to be this feeling throughout my life of being confined by the expectations, the opinions, and the beliefs of others, society, my family of origin, and feeling frustrated by those expectations and feeling like I had to be a certain way, do certain things to fit in or to feel accepted. And so I wrote the book because when I started sharing my stories with others, they would share with me their stories and their frustrations about not being able to get out of these, what I call boxes. And so I wrote the book in the hopes that one person would just perhaps see something in their life that maybe wasn't working for them, explore it, and move towards a way of getting out of that situation or box to lead a more fulfilling and authentic life.
So what you do mean by the boxes is something that it does hold you, that it restrains you in a way, whether it's a belief system or a particular culture that, you know, we fit in, or what you said, for example, that I thought success looked like this. And I remember when you shared that, I remember exactly when I was 18 and I said, you know, like 15, 16, I said, when I'm 30, I want to own a home. I want to own a business. I want to be married. And so those meant that they were success to me. And by age 28, I did reach all three of them. And exactly what you said, I was not satisfied. I was not fulfilled. I was not happy. And it was more like, this is it. Like, okay, you know, I ran to do this by this age, and this is all that I get as far as satisfaction. And that's when I started going to like growth seminars and therapy and really looking at that. I'm like, yes, now I want to be a therapist, you know? But yes, exactly. I've shared some of what you're experiencing. I've also experienced. So when you talk about these boxes, the metaphorical boxes, what do you specifically mean by that?
I mean, they could come from a variety of different sources, you know, family of origin, roles that we play in society. It could come from our peers, our friends, our family, organizations, institutions, religions, culture. But it's these attitudes, these beliefs, these opinions, these ways of life that we believe, or some believe, are that are the rules, and you do X, Y, and Z to fit in or be accepted. We're social beings, and we are trying. We all need we need others to survive. It's funny because I just got back last night from a trip to South Africa, and watching all the wildlife there on safari, and very much understanding and appreciating how important it is for us. We are social creatures, and if we are truly alone, you will not survive very long. So it's this balance of needing to be accepted and having a tribe, but also being authentic to yourself and leading a life that is in alignment with who you truly are.
So the boxes, what you're sharing with is a lot of the rules that gets created, whether it's part of the tribe that we want to be in and we want to fit in. And we think that if we're not part of utilizing the same box, that we might not be accepted by everyone.
Or it's like, exactly, like, the good mom box, the good wife box, the good sister, the good daughter, that, any noun after the word good, that's somebody's expectations and opinions and belief systems. It may not be yours. That's always a sign if somebody says good, or somebody says they are too X, TOO, they're too, whatever. That's a judgment based on somebody's belief systems other than your own. And are you okay with that? Like, that might not be your own belief systems. So that's what it is looking at these descriptives and making sure that, and not all boxes are bad. When I wrote a book, I wanted what I believe is in the author box, the adjectives used to describe an author. Like, I wanted that association. So that's a box that I consciously wanted to enter into. Some boxes serve us at some points in our lives. Some boxes never serve us, and some boxes serve us, but we either outgrow them or we no longer identify with them and we need to exit them. But I found in my own life, I was overstaying my welcome in a lot of boxes.
So part of your book also explains that why do these things exist? In some level, it seems like in order to live in a society and move forward in a cohesive way in a society, rules appear, right? Like when, in your profession, there has to be rules, or people don't know what to do with it, right? So there are certain rules that gets created, and as we're born into our family rule and the society rule, and then as we kind of get older, we go into school and there's a school rule, and then you want to drive and there's driving rule. So you keep finding yourself in these restricted kind of structures and rules. And as you have said, sometimes it is important for us to first learn the rule, follow the structure, because that structure also gives us safety, gives us, a security, gives us a sense of belonging where we're going there. But the other side of it is also then knowing and acknowledging of what parts of it becomes restrictive for us. What parts of it is no longer it belongs to me, but I have to completely change myself to belong to another group in another box. And it's like, how do I negotiate these two? Can you share a little bit about all of that?
Yes, I agree with you. And in a society, I think boxes probably came into existence in the very beginning of our time here on Earth, in that you have all this information and data coming in at you as humans, and you have to quickly ascertain at the very basic level who's safe and who's not safe, right? Good or bad. And I think that was probably the first box. This whatever, for whatever reason, these attributes and this person or species is bad or a threat to our existence, and these are not. And then it just grew from there. And so it is a way of quickly categorizing a lot of information coming in at us. I tell a story in the book about the danger is when the minute you slap a label on something, you stop seeing it. And it's funny because I'm taking up an interest now in drawing, and I'm not a good drawer at all, but I'm reading all these books, and they said children by nature are much better drawers than adults at the beginning because they can draw what they see, whereas adults at the beginning draw what they know. So you draw a tree and you think of of this generic. An algorithm of all the trees you've known to be, but you have this concept of what a tree is and you draw it. But you ask a child to draw the tree outside, they draw exactly what they see. We stop seeing that as an adult, and we just label anything with bark and a long stalk and leaves off it as a tree. And so that's the danger, is when we slap a label on it, we assume we know so much about this thing or person, and we really only know a very small piece of their story. We find that with professions all the time, and then we're shocked when we hear that a priest has molested a child. Like, how could that be? He's a priest. Well, the priest is just one small aspect of his being. And just because he has that label doesn't mean he's also other things, So that's the danger, I think, of these labels. And, you talked about when they start to feel confining. And that was something that I really struggled with, because I came from a family that wasn't good at expressing or even feeling their emotions. It was a very cerebral, Betsy, what do you think kind of house, where never were we asked, how do you feel? And so I was taught that feelings were fleeting, that they were unreliable, that they were kind of silly, and you would never base a decision on how you feel, but you base your decisions on what you think and the facts. What do the facts tell you? So I had grown up very good at bypassing and even acknowledging what I was feeling. And even when I felt bad, I would just assume, oh, that's wrong. I can't think that. I can't can't feel that. It's what do you think? And so I think sometimes the first sign of a box being too constraining, or elements of that box being too constraining, it's going to come from your body. Your body will know before your mind knows. And the more in tune you are with how you feel, I think the better you are at exiting boxes that no longer serve you.
So one angle of what you're sharing is to notice that you are in a box, because as long as there's a rule that is working for you and you're moving forward with it and even expanding it and creating other angles of it, it doesn't appear to be a box possibly to us. Mm-hmm. So one way that you're defining a box is that when we label it, and when we label it, we close it, and it's no longer a fluid concept. Categorize it, it goes into this categorization, and then it gets locked within its own, that kind of categorizations, values or specifications. So it doesn't really have a lot of movement room. You're not looking at it from a category or a box. Then there's a way for this to be fluid. It's changeable. And so if I look at myself as a human being and I put all of these categories on myself, and I could go in and be the sister, be the mom, be the, the real estate broker, be the psychotherapist, be the author. So, and each one of them obviously have some rules to be able to go forward with, and a structure to base, our behaviors on, and kind of mold ourselves within what the society also looks at categorization. But when I know that I'm being confined, you're saying that if I notice my emotions, when I notice that my feelings are being confined, to also honor them. Because when I honor that feeling of being confined, then I could either get myself out of the category and expand the concept, versus being in one box and feeling.
Exactly. And you can't exit or move out of a box that you're not aware that you're in. Right. So the awareness is the first step towards change. And then once you become aware of it, then you can make, even when you become aware of it, some of us still, like myself, sometimes still choose to stay in it. And that's usually a decision based in fear. And once, for me, I walk through, okay, then Betsy, what what exactly are you fearing? And it's usually fear of failure or fear of loss, like a loss of status or social connection or financial security, or fear of change. And then addressing which of those fears or combination of fears is holding me back so that I can move in a direction that's more authentic to me and more in alignment with my values.
I think you bring a very good point, which is, what am I losing if I get out of a box?
Mm-hmm.
If we've chosen a box, or it has been chosen for us. If you come in as a human being, it's been chosen for you. If you come into that space and you either own it or you reject it or you're, kind of like fighting with it. But if you want to leave it, there's definitely some consequences that you have to face. And you're saying sometimes we stay in a box because we don't want to pay the consequence.
Right.
The other side of it is there's also benefits in that box, right?
Oh yeah, safety, security. Yeah, you know what to expect. I mean, there's a lot.
Yes. So then is there a way of, and my own answer is yes, but I'm proposing it as a question for all of our audience to kind of like look at that. Is there a way to hold some of the value and then expand it? You know how because you're bringing the metaphor of boxes, so when I want to move, I order all of these different types of boxes and sizes of boxes, and they have different function, right? Some smaller ones where I'm going to put books because they're going to be heavy for other people. There's some that are insulated because I want to put things that are breakable. There are some boxes that are large and function differently because I just want to put my clothes in there and not fold them. So there is but all the boxes are the same. They have the same kind of material space. So you can use and hold to some of the values or things that be in a box, and then change the functionality of it and how we utilize that role. Like,
yeah,
this brings me to the conversation which I have a lot with mothers. Mothers become different when their child is an infant versus a toddler or a school age, or becomes a teen, or they're becoming young adult and moving forward. And then as we grow older and our children are, becoming adult, then our role, even as a mother, changes, where they're going to sometimes have to take care of us. So you can see that although a box of a mother holds a specific role for us, but through our growth as a mother and our children's growth as a mother, that box keeps changing whether I like it or not.
Right. No, so true. So true. And I agree. I mean, I struggled with that. Even I remember I wasn't even aware of boxes. Like, I was aware of some boxes, but when I became the mother, I'm like, oh, okay, this is another box. Like, I didn't know all the judgments that were placed on a mom the minute you're born, and the decisions you make on how you're going to raise your child. And you're right. And those change as the child grows and the relationship changes, and being aware of how the boxes change as you go through life is very true.
So this concept of I have to give it up, I can see how it could be frightening for people. And somehow to look at, okay, I can change the size of the box. I can change the form of the box. I can change some things that it can actually be adaptable to what my need is and the phase of life need, or how I can feel safe and secure and to hold some of this value while I'm not confined with this size of the role, which no longer kind of like just fits me. Okay, everyone, Breaking Boxes, by Betsy Pepine. And you can get that in Amazon and everywhere else, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So as you were going through your journey of looking at how to let go of some of these boxes, which they no longer serve you, and you said, that you can really sense that when you check in your emotions and you check to see whether your growth has kind of made you outgrow those kind of rules and regulations and structures that you were in, and that you need to really come out. And you said there's anxiety about it. There's fear about it. So what do you sense that the steps can be in order to kind of like, get ready for it? Check your emotion, you're confined, you need to move. The fears and the anxiety is there, but you kind of like open the box like this. We're kind of coming out. What steps would you consider sharing in, how to do that so that you kind of like, work with the anxiety or minimize the anxiety?
So for me, what's worked is I love to write things down because I find that if I let things fester in my head, they can become overwhelming and much bigger than when I write it down. When I write things down, everything looks doable, right? It doesn't look as scary or threatening. So I write down, what is it that is causing resistance for me to make a change? And it's usually a fear of something. And so I say to myself, is it a fear of failure? And that one doesn't hang me up anymore. It used to, but failure to me is another box. And it's a box that we use to label certain outcomes. But I just choose not to have that in my life. So for me, I say, okay, Betsy, worst case scenario, what happens if I make this move, whatever move it is? Worst case scenario, the outcome is not what I had anticipated or wanted. I have to pivot. Okay. All of us have had to pivot before, right? So I know I can pivot, and I will have learned something very valuable that I can take with me for the rest of my life. So that's worst case scenario. And worst case scenario, research has shown, happens approximately 3% of the time. So failure is just a mental construct that I choose not to have in my life. So that's how I deal with fear of failure. Then if it's fear of loss, that's a big one because if your identity is wrapped around some roles and boxes, like when I was a wife, I became suddenly single. My girls were 1 and 2. My identity at the time was wrapped up in being a wife. And what I learned very quickly is you cannot have your identity tied up in something that can be taken away from you. So that one I worked on for years, and I don't feel like my identity is wrapped up in anything that can be taken away from me. The same thing happened when I was unexpectedly laid off from a corporate job. At the time, my identity was so intertwined with having that position at that company. And so being able to release my identity and detach my identity from things that can be taken away from me has freed me considerably. If it's something like a loss of social status, if you make a move, and I faced that when I switched careers, and I went from a career where in my family, I was in a much more what they would have considered prestigious career. And then I decided to become a realtor, which was not in their eyes something that was considered very, I don't know what the right word is, but in in the US, to be a realtor, you just need to take a class online and pass a test. And a GED. And so they didn't feel like that was living up to my abilities or my abilities. And so I did lose social currency in my family when I chose that. And that was hard for me at the time. That was a loss for me. But on paper, I'm like, okay, I'm going to lose that. But the alternative was living a life that I would have been miserable in and was not true to myself. So being able to weigh what I'm going to lose versus what I'm going to gain helps me decide, is it the strategy I want, or is it the move I want to make? So that's how I deal with things of status or social connection too. Whenever you make a move, it's like, I feel like it's like playing chess, and you've moved a piece on the board. Well, the whole game has changed. And when you make a move, your social connections are going to change. People are going to have an opinion about it. They're going to feel threatened by it. They're not going to agree with it. You are going to lose some social connections in a lot of when you decide to make a movement outside a box or change the box that you're in. But I say to myself, okay, Betsy, you're going to lose some on the back end. Shore up your new relationships for your future vision of yourself. Who can take you and help you for that future vision of where you want to go and be? There's always people out there that have done what you want to do and are willing to help you and be there for support. So start looking forward to those kinds of relationships so that understanding you are going to lose some relationships on the back end. The other thing that helped me with that is reframing the end of relationships. I used to be somebody who would be, I wouldn't say traumatized, but ending relationships was very difficult for me. And understanding that relationships are there to serve a purpose for each party to grow and to mirror yourselves and work on things. And then they come to a completion and then you move on from them. They're not, most relationships you have in your life are not designed to be there for your full life. They're there to teach you a lesson, to teach them a lesson, and then you move on. So it's a necessary ending. It's not bad. And so that helped me understand and be able to sever sometimes relationships that I was in that were no longer of value to me or the other party. So the bigger picture is just for me writing down what it is I'm fearing, addressing it head on, researching how other people have overcome the issues or the fears that I might be facing, and then making baby steps towards the life and the path that I want to live.
One thing that I was thinking as I was hearing you was that sometimes it appears that the boxes are restraining us. But there's also, as you were sharing, there are things that we get attached to the box itself. Like even if the door of the box is open, that we attach ourselves to that type of an identity. It becomes like the one job or the title or the role becomes who we are, or we close ourselves that's who we are. Categorize ourselves as if that's who we are. Like if I am, at this job and I have this role, then that's who I am. Not necessarily that this job will end or the company will end or this type of career, has done its purpose and I'm moving beyond it. But in order to let go and move beyond it, it's also letting go of my attachment to it, or like you said, some relationships, some marriages, some things that are like, it was always there that I was supposed to be there. But you know what, the role of a wife, the role of you guys, our children grow and kind of go through the emptiness concept is the same thing. Like I've had this role of 18 or 20 years of having specific tasks that came, and now it's not there. I'm no longer needed. So what's going to happen to me? Or people who go through retirement, let go of what they needed to do in that way of productivity and having to get up in this structure, have their socialization be at work. It meant something, when they came and, called them and asked them to do something, and like letting go of that and have no idea who I'm going to be again, like what am I categorizing myself as, or what am I going to title myself as? So that empty space of letting go of that attachment to something, and then having the opportunity to recreate yourself into something else as your growth potential is really, really also important. And sometimes we think that the external part is holding us back, and sometimes no, the doors are open, but we're the one who's actually holding on to something, which it's time to let go. Breaking boxes, everyone. Dismantling the metaphorical boxes that binds us, by Betsy Pepine. What else do you want to share about boxes and how we hold ourselves into some place? So the other question that shows up for me is, how do I get to recreate who I am? And like you said, you went from, you're an MBA, you went from one particular field to then attempting to be a realtor. What is it that, in the interim, there's a place where we have to stand in this unknown until we go into the next level, right? Like a lot of people, when they're coming out of a relationship or getting a divorce, you have to face this unknown until you get to the next, goal, or, okay, this is who I want to be. What are your experiences in, making a decision that I'm going to get out of this box, but I have no idea where to go and what to do yet? Even.
So what I do, I have an exercise that I do. I do it every year, and then when I need it in between the time, I do it every January, and then sometimes in the middle, or sometime in the middle of the year, I need it as well. But it's a wheel of life exercise where you draw a circle basically on a sheet of paper. You divide up the circle, into 6 or 8 slices, like pizza, and you write down what your life pillars are at that moment. And it could be, like for me, health, finances, career, friends and family, spirituality, giving back. It could be a hobby, 6 to 8 life pillars. And they change over time. And what my goals are in each of those categories and who my mentors are in each of those categories. And that helps me focus on my future and my future self and who I want to be in the future, and helps me to start creating that identity and shedding the old identity. So that's a really great exercise. I think that would help folks. It has helped me tremendously when I'm in that middle zone of uncomfortableness. Not, it's funny because so much anxiety is not the decision, it's the unknowing. And once things become so much more clear. But that unknowing piece is very, very anxiety provoking. So that's an exercise that I do to help get clarity on how I want to move forward.
In a minute or so, is there anything we didn't share that you really, really want people to know?
Well, I do like to point out that, boxes are universal if you're human. We all get faced in some situations in our life where we're in them, but we also put other people in boxes. And I have to be very mindful of that. And going through this whole journey, I have become more and more aware of when I do put people in boxes that maybe unnecessarily confine them, especially with my children and with my people closest to me. So just being mindful of, yes, they're universal, and we're not a victim. We all do it to others, as well as being felt like we've faced our own boxes.
I totally agree with you. I work a lot with couples, and you see this so much. Even with parents with their children, the children are growing and completely becoming someone else, and they see them as, something that was so many years ago, or their mate has done something that they felt betrayed by, or something that was not working for them. And although the person has changed so much, they hold what had hurt them as, the whole concept of the box, and they can't get out of it. And I even think that we do that to ourselves. As you said, it seems like, if we haven't forgiven ourselves for something that we've done before, or we had an idea or about, my own self-esteem or who I am, although we've gained so much skills, we've survived so many things, and we've created, the resilience of moving forward. It's still, if I ask someone, what do you think about yourself? They'll go and share all the negative things, and it will come through. So it is so true that we don't move in this awe of observation that you shared, like a child has, because a child has this awe moment. It's like, wow, look, there's something new here. So I'm just going to enjoy the newness of it. We take away that newness. And then that's how we actually box things, that, whether it's us or others, and not move forward with this changes that inevitably, the growth that inevitably we all have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
I know that you have the book out, but also beside the book, you are also offering, kind of like courses where you could do the practices with people. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure, we're about to launch that. It's a companion course that you self-paced online that will be available on my website that goes along with the book. And it came about because readers of the book is really story-based. And so the response was great, but how do I do this for myself? And so the course is more of a how-to and helps you on that journey of exploring what boxes may be holding you back and how you can successfully navigate an exit strategy if that's the right course for you.
Beautiful. And where can people find you?
I have a website, which is just at my name, betsypepine.com. And then I'm on all the social handles or channels. My handle is Betsy Pepine, except for TikTok. On TikTok, I am Gainesville Realtor.
Beautiful. Have you learned anything that you wanted to add to this, what you have already from your career of being a realtor?
Oh, my goodness. Yes. I mean, that's where boxes are so prevalent. Even I'm a broker, and there's sadly, there's a tendency to judge people based on their income, the way they look, what their price point is, and being totally surprised when it's not what you think it is, and then we work with a lot of, ex-criminals. They need housing, and they're good people, and and they've also committed a crime. And so, yes, we see boxes all the time in real estate.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for taking the time and the position to just be with us and share your wonderful book and all that is, available actually for people, not only to use the books, but also to come and practice all of these points with you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
And for all of you who are out there, create an amazing life for yourself and everyone around you. And until next week, bye-bye.
Break free from the forces holding you back. Get the life you deserve. Eliminate stress, reduce anxiety, decrease depression, and start living your full potential. Thousands have used Dr. Foojan Zeine's awareness integration theory, an evidence-based behavioral health breakthrough with incredible life-changing results. Getting rid of past trauma, having fulfilling relationships, increasing earnings, and living their best life. Now, the Foojan app is available to everyone. The app is Dr. Foojan Zeine's awareness integration theory in the palm of your hand. Download the Foojan app today.
Are you a psychotherapist looking to enhance your practice? The Awareness Integration Therapy developed by Dr. Foojan Zeine is a comprehensive guide to the principle and techniques of this powerful therapeutic approach. Join the growing community who have elevated their practice and expanded their skills by embracing Awareness Integration Therapy and witnessing its life-changing impact. Order your copy on Amazon now.